Today, we'll look at how to write a narrative. We'll review some of the main components that you'll want to incorporate, and then work on discussing some introduction strategies. As we discussed last week when we reviewed the Essay 1 narrative assignment, a narrative is a story. When you are writing a narrative, you are telling a story. This means that you can break some of the traditional rules that would normally apply when writing an academic paper. There are a few things that we'll want to make sure to include in our narrative. First, we want to start with a strong introduction and some background information to get our reader interested in what we're looking at. Then, we want to make sure to incorporate a good development of the plot with detailed descriptions of our characters and setting. We want to make sure to bring this to life by incorporating lively and realistic dialogue and wrap things up with a strong conclusion. Today, we will review some introduction strategies that you can use to begin your introductory paragraph with a bang. There are a number of things that we'll want to do to produce a strong introduction. In your introduction, you want to grab the reader's attention, introduce the story and the characters, and provide a thesis statement that will explain the value or main purpose of the story. There are a number of introduction strategies that you can use to begin your essay. We tend to refer to these as hooks because they hook your reader and make them want to read more. To begin your introduction, you could start with a quotation. In this case, you would want to use a relevant quotation and make sure that you use it effectively. Do not try to force a quotation into this spot. Rather, try to choose something interesting that's related to your topic. This can help get your reader interested in reading your narrative. Alternatively, you could start with a concession. This means that you would start with a statement recognizing an opinion or an approach that is different from your own. To begin your introduction, you could also start with a paradox. A paradox is a seeming self-contradiction. Here's an example from a more academic paper. By 1959, Vladimir Nabokov's novel Lolita had been banned in several cities as pornographic. Today it is required reading not only in literature courses, but also in philosophy courses that explore the nature of love. By putting these two contradictory statements together, we're getting our reader interested. They'll want to know how we'll be discussing this book and where we're going to go. Alternatively, we could start our introduction with a short anecdote or narrative. This would just be putting our reader into the story, giving them a glimpse of what we're looking at. We might begin with a line of detail or a description, but we do want to make sure to then provide any necessary background information or context. You could also start your introduction with an interesting fact or statement. This can grab your reader's attention because you might include something surprising. You do want to make sure that the interesting fact or statement is relevant to your essay and that you don't try to force something into this spot. Alternatively, you could start with a question or several questions that you will answer in your essay. If you begin with a question that you want your readers to think about as they read through the essay, then they have something to connect with and something to keep in mind as they progress through your narrative. You could start your introduction with relevant background information. If you decide to include background information, you will want to do this concisely and appropriately. Do not include unnecessary information and make sure to keep it relevant. George Orwell's Shooting an Elephant, an article that we'll read, offers a great example of beginning an introduction with background information. Alternatively, you could start by stating your overall goal without necessarily stating the cause. Then your reader would know what your focus is, and you can use your body paragraphs to develop the cause or purpose relating to that goal. To begin your introduction, you could start by defining a term that is important to your essay. In this case, you should avoid dictionary definitions. If you use a definition, it should be relevant to your essay and useful for explaining something to your reader. For example, if you are writing about love, you might start by defining love according to you versus including something from the dictionary. That way it can show your reader where you're going throughout your essay. Any of these introduction strategies can be used as a way to hook your reader and get them interested in your introduction and the rest of your essay. And you can revisit these strategies in your conclusion as a means of wrapping up the essay. Revisiting your introduction strategy in your conclusion creates a frame around your writing. You begin with one strategy that starts your reader off, and then when you revisit it in your conclusion, creating a frame around your essay, your reader feels like they have come full circle and everything has been resolved. We've come back to where we began, and we've created a very neat picture for our reader.